Hey, good morning, fuckers. Welcome to another day. And how did you love that April Fool's and the Mikester? What's going on?
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Daily DM.
You have the sexiest feet on the planet.
I bet I do. I didn't even know I was doing that, so that's exciting.
You had no idea. I literally made a game time decision. Said, you know what? Let's see if I can catch some of these perverts freaking going over to our website. And guess what, guys? A lot of you went over to check out Mike's feet. So, hey, Mike, sexy feet, Mike. You might be onto something.
I'm seeing a revenue stream.
Yeah,
a revenue stream.
Yep. I'm thinking to myself,
we got a special guest with us today too.
What's
the
up,
one,
Shae?
the only Shae.
Hi guys.
What's going on?
Oh, nothing. You know, I was just all over Feet Finder this morning, seeing if I could find Mike.
feet.
You know,
Nobody wants to see these ugly dogs.
You'd
These
be
dogs have been
surprised.
through war. These dogs
There's some
have been
weird
through war.
dudes and chicks out there, man. They're like, oh my God, his toes are so hairy. I love it.
Tasty toes.
Fucking perverts. Anyway,
Tasty toes.
you got Star Wars on there, I see. Yeah, got the Star Wars kicking.
yas.
And I'm representing
I know.
Starfleet.
I am too, right here. But it's
Starfleet.
It's in Spock's lap. My
I
Buddha
got
Spock.
my boy Eric hanging out behind my head on this side.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, a little Homer Simpson
Stuttering.
kicking. Yep.
Yep. Sitting in the backfield next to that amazing AC unit.
Keeping Eric cool.
Try to
No,
block
we
it
do
with
not
my
have his
head.
ashes, guys. I'm sorry. All right, he's good to go. We're not that creepy. Well, maybe, but who knows?
So we were having an interesting conversation off air, and we decided to go live because it was kind of resonating home with us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, bring us
Who
up to
wants to
speed.
kick it off?
You bring us up to speed.
Oh, geez, I have to recap.
Yes,
See, Brad
do a little
can't
bit of
do
a
it because
recap.
Brad was multitasking, so he can't.
Yeah.
He
Brad
can't
doesn't
remember what we
were
said.
talking about.
Yeah, I don't, dude. I barely remember. I can't even tell you what I ate this morning. Let alone
You don't
what we were
because
talking
you
about.
don't take the time to focus on it
Wait,
and
what?
enjoy the moment.
Huh?
So basically, before we started the show, what we were talking about is how. Go ahead.
You
Shae?
started with the new Apple glasses. That's where we
Mhm.
started, and how
Yeah, we started with augmented reality, but that we're actually we're going to be saving that for Tech Talk Tuesday.
oh,
This
okay.
this episode.
Yeah, way to
we're gonna
go.
be
Way to
talk-
screw it up. Ugh.
So that's coming on a future episode, guys. That'll be on our Tech Talk Tuesday because we've
My
actually decided
bad.
to come up with some crafty names for different days of the week, which we will announce on one of our podcasts when we switch this to the format, so that way you guys can have a little more structure in what we do, so we're not all over the place.
I thought we decided
I'm
on
not gonna
Toe
say
Jam
we're not.
Tuesday. No? Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Jam
but
Tuesday.
there's only
Yeah,
so
no.
much there's only so much toe jam you can cover in 52 weeks.
Yeah, good luck
I
with
don't know
that,
if we can do
bro.
52
I could try a whole
episodes
bunch of
of Toe
different
Jam.
things there with some different types of Toe Jam.
I don't know. You know, keep an eye out for Mike's Feet Finder. We'll see what we can do with 52 weeks and Mike's feet.
52 weeks of toe jam. So we got on the topic of, because I heard an interesting statistic over the weekend that if you make over $24,000 and some change, you are actually in the top 1% of wealth in the world. Not in the US, but in the world. To which Brad countered in here in Tampa and St. Pete, if you want to live comfortably as a single adult male, right now the statistic is you have to make $94,000 per year. And as a married couple, it's $210,000. I believe
210,000, correct.
That's with a married couple with 2 kids to live comfortably in the St. Pete, Tampa area. We then segued over to our favorite place to bash, and that's the Ronald McDonald Mecca of McDonald's.
Yes.
I beat up poor
You know what?
Ronald,
I couldn't
man.
actually remember how we got to where we got to, which is why I was trying to go back to the beginning.
You know why I
It was
beat
a
up the...
great conversation.
That's why Brad asked me to summarize, because unlike Brad, I actually pay attention. And
You know why I
make
beat up
notes.
Ronald McDonald? Because he's a freaking ginger, and gingers deserve to get beat up. They have no soul, according to Eric Cartman. Oh, sorry, Shae.
I'm wondering. I'm kind of wondering when Ronald. Side note. I'm kind of wondering when Ronald McDonald is going to be replaced, because it seems like all gingers are getting recast as typically black actors. So it's like we're replacing one minority with another minority, and it's kind of horrible because I think gingers need representation too, right, Shae?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like there's something happening here I wasn't prepared for.
What? I'm defending your people.
My people.
Your peoples, your redheads, man. You know, the gingers of the world. You're defending.
I think gingers. Just because that one ginger had no soul doesn't mean all gingers have no soul. I've met some gingers that are pretty nice people.
Yeah. I would hope
and then
so.
they steal your soul.
Yeah, underpants gnomes.
I have a tiny box of souls in my underwear drawer, just so you guys know.
Wait, why do you keep them in your underwear drawer?
Underpants gnomes.
No, that's a little odd.
Yeah. So basically,
Where do you keep yours?
Oh, geez. Brad has no souls because he's not a ginger.
I'm not a ginger. Hello.
He's bald.
He
has no
bald.
hair.
I'm like a chubby Gandalf. All right, so whatever.
He's not a ginger. He's a dwarf. He's a dwarf.
Oh,
he's too fat
to be a
little
hobbit. People shit again, huh? Getting on the little people shit again. All right, I see how it is.
No, I meant you're like actually like the mythological creature, like a dwarf, because you're too tall to be a little person.
Well, you think that shit's funny, Ginger? Okay. Keep it up, Red. We'll see what's up.
Yeah. So
anyway, back to Ronald McDonald.
We were all on Ronald McDonald because Brad was complaining that a Big Mac meal is now like $18 in some parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Which we all had the reaction of shock and horror because McDonald's food is not that good as far as taste.
No.
And there's a lot of better choices out there that you can make for better quality food.
Yeah, I mean, you said that, well, Brad was the one who said they're about to raise their prices again, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And we're all like,
I bet you can't guess where.
Here?
Nope. Guess again. Michael get it on the first try, I bet you.
California.
Bing, ding, ding, ding. He wins again.
That would be my next guess, but everything in Florida. It makes sense.
They need to pay reparations for the states that never had slaves, for people that never owned slaves, where the people were never slaves. But it's important that they get the funding for that.
Right. So that was, that also came up that now here, what we have now is just modern day slavery. The way everything is going, the way.
So that segued. Let me bring everybody else up to speed because Shae just jumped ahead like 2 chapters.
Sorry.
So we ranted a brief moment about how crappy the food is and how you can go better places. And then Shae jumped on the bandwagon about credit card charges and contactless payment, which brought up the topic of the new form of slavery. Hence my reparations tie-in.
You're listening to the Daily BM.
And
I'm just going to sit over here and be quiet so that
we're now up to speed. So now you can talk.
We brought everybody up, so here we go.
Yep. So we are on the topic now, how credit cards are the new form of modern slavery.
Yes. And my point was that contactless payment became a thing, like the thing during COVID for a good reason, but everybody's habits shifted and changed. I don't want to say everybody because not everybody maybe, but most people's habits changed during COVID for safety reasons, and that upped the amount of credit and debit card transactions, and lowered the amount of cash people carry around. So that also increased the credit card transaction fees across the board for people. And banks are collecting all that money. It's costing businesses more money to transact, but you know what I mean. So that's transactions. So it was just a point I was making, that it's adding to there are so many things adding to the cost of everything right now. And it's so huge. Like, it's massive.
Well, it's a compounding effect, because like as you
take all these little things and add them together.
You're looking at the end level, like the final consumer buying the final product. But if credit cards are used throughout the entire transaction process, like the vendor that says, say the farmer that provides the wheat to mill the bread, if he has to get payment now by credit card as opposed to check, because most companies like to use credit cards. I know we do in our companies, and I'm sure that the big companies do as well. He's now having to pay a transaction fee. And
Right.
then as it's moving through the process, it's transaction fee on top of transaction fee on top of transaction fee. So the banks are getting richer and richer and richer off these transaction fees.
Right. That's exactly what I meant. Instead of versus before when you took a $50 bill and I take the $50 bill and I hand it to Brad to pay for my service or my goods, and then Brad takes that same $50 bill and pays his bill with it, and then that $50 remains $50 the entire time. But when you take and you pay with it through a debit or credit card with the transaction fees, I pay Brad pays his bill,
Credit card company.
so that $50 ends up being $5 at the end by the time everybody has taken
By the time
their
it moves through, correct, takes all their fees
so
out.
you're reducing your money exponentially by paying everybody paying with a card, but the banks, they're just
Making money.
raking.
So,
Well,
and the other oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say,
Go
let
ahead,
me
Brad.
add on top of that, because what it really truly boils down to is the consumer end saying they've had enough, number one, and two, changing their habits and style of the way they live. The problem is people don't want to give up their style, their comfort of life for a little bit of hard time. And what I mean by that is, for instance, if you know the pay has dropped, or if you know you're not bringing in enough money, but your bills are still this high, you're going to have to give up some creature comforts and some things that you normally would have for entertainment value or whatever it is that you're doing, managing that to where it makes sense. I know myself, I've made cuts. So there's two choices you have. One is obviously you have to make some cuts. Two, you have to figure out a way to make more money during that time frame.
That's a trend. That's a transition though. That's not really adding to that topic of credit card fees.
But what I'm saying is you already have those fees going up, so you have to adjust on your level too to match that as it's going up. Because if not, you're going to continue to keep compounding on top. Why is that?
No, you don't.
Why?
Just, because you can choose to use cash as opposed to using a contactless payment, and then it breaks the cycle.
Yes, and this is my thing about this.
But you still have to pay down those cards, Mike. You can't. I mean, even if you are paying cash, you still have to save to pay off those cards. So if you got transactions going out that cost more money,
if you have card,
it's two different subjects. So
right.
So one thing is credit card debt, and the other thing is
it's credit card fees.
Correct.
Transaction not giving so much money to the banks because it's so easy to use. And because
that was their intention. I mean, it's a psychological thing, because when you take $1, like, and if for you guys at home that are watching or listening to the podcast, I have a lot of cash in my hands. You know, if you take a $5 bill and you hand this to somebody, there's a feeling of loss. But if you just tap your wrist or you swipe a card, you don't have that. You don't have that feeling of loss. You don't have that exchange.
Right.
You can see it. You can see it when you go to when you go to the store, because then you also get change back. And you're like, okay, what do I do with this change? You put it in your pocket and you feel like you have less than what you had before. So a way to get around that is they created credit cards that link right to your card. So you typically, like if you go into a grocery store and you only have a $20 bill in your pocket, you're not going to spend more than $20. You can't. You'll go to the register, you'll be embarrassed because it'll be like, it's $24.50. And you'll be like, take that off because I can't afford it.
Right.
Credit card, you're just like, doo-doo, and now you just overspent. Like that's the reason that they do that. That's why they are pushing contactless payment. That's why it's so easy with the wristwatch, just to tap and pay, tap and go. And how many times do you even not pay attention to how much they're charging you? You just tap and go, like you don't even think about it. I know I do. I know I've been through the drive-through and they've said the amount and I just hand them the card and they pay for it. And then, I look at the bank statement like a week later. I'm like, we just spent $68 at Zaxby's for 4 people. Like, what the hell did
now
we
they
eat?
get you?
So
you know what I mean? And it's like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. And you don't even think about it. You're having a conversation. You're just, here's the card. Boop, quick pay.
Have you ever been into a place and looked at your receipt and realized that the establishment was passing their credit card fees on to the customer?
Yes, a lot of times.
Okay.
Gas stations especially.
Yeah. So there are people who don't look at their receipts and they don't because an establishment can choose if they have, sorry, I lost my thought or lost my sentence, but the certain credit card companies, as you know, can give the opportunity for the establishment to pass that on to their customers.
Yeah, there's certain states that you can't do that. There's certain states that have that blocked in, that cash and credit has to be the same price.
You can
There's some
do it
states there's
here.
not. Yeah, here you can do it as a convenience charge, to charge whatever the difference is that you're paying. It can't be over a certain percentage.
And you're supposed to post a sign saying that you're doing that, whatever. But there's a lot of people who really they don't really understand what is happening behind the scenes, and they don't really understand the cost associated with that. But when you have cash in your wallet and you have to watch it dwindle as you spend it, it really is a psychological thing that kind of helps you not do it as much,
not
and
to overspend.
yeah, and online, when you're shopping online with your phone and you're just bored and it's so easy, and there's fees associated with that sometimes, and there's shipping, and there's this and there's that. But it takes that extra step to go to the bank and grab out cash money to
Go
do
make
it.
the
So
purchase.
you have to make yourself uncomfortable. You have to be, it's not easy. You have to go by the bank, or you have to keep out some cash money in order to do that step. And enough people have to do it at one time to make a difference, to say, hey, we don't, this is dumb. We don't want to do this anymore. All of this money is just funneling straight into these financial institutions. And
I don't think we're going to do it, because the problem is that there's a lot of people that really enjoy the perks and the benefits of the cards that they have. And there are some people that are able to game the system. Just a majority can't. A majority end up in the trap where Brad was going earlier. They end up overspending, and then they can't pay off their credit cards. And it's a vicious cycle that they continuously stay in, because they're trying to live at a lifestyle that they think they deserve, but they can't afford.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. The biggest problem we have in America is, we have, I don't know about other areas in our listening areas, but here locally, it seems like on every single corner, there's a self-storage facility going up. And it's sad, because it means that people don't have enough room in their house to store the stuff they buy, that they have to have an external place to store stuff that they probably will store there, and then they'll never go back and visit again. Or maybe once a year they'll go check it out. And then when that fills up, they'll get a bigger storage unit, or they'll get a second storage unit to store more stuff. And we just have this consumerist mindset. And if you remember, I don't know if you remember, well, you guys should remember this. Do you remember layaway?
Oh, yeah.
So you go into a store, you get the item, you take it to the back, and they would hold it for you, and you'd make weekly payments on it. And once you paid it off, they would give it to you. Well, the businesses got really smart, and they realized, let's give it to them now, because they'll buy it. The newness will wear off before they pay it off, and they'll come in and buy something else and on the same program. And then they'll keep doing this until they cannot no longer get approved for any other purchases. And then they'll take 2 to 3 years paying high interest rates, and then they may or may not declare bankruptcy in order to get out of it. But at that point, they've already made their money, because you've already paid 10 times more than what the item's worth.
Yep.
In interest and fees and everything else. So they're okay with it, because it's a win situation. And that's where it goes back to what I opened up the podcast with, about it's the new form of slavery, because they realized, how do we keep a workforce working hard? Well, we give them the false sense that they can go out and buy whatever they want on credit. And then now they have to work twice as hard to pay double for what they're buying. I mean, buying a house was an American dream, but house prices are so high now that, and the interest rates are so high, you're going to pay 3 times the value of the house for a 30-year mortgage. So if the house is $100,000, you're going to end up paying close to $300,000 over the course of a 30-year mortgage at the current interest rates. And I might be a little off on that, but for illustration purposes, that's what I'm going with.
Right.
So, you buy something and you pay 10 times what it's worth because you put it on a credit card, and then you only make the minimum payments because now you are going out and still spending and you're overspending. And it's not the big purchases that kill you. It's the everyday little purchases that add up that you don't see, the little $5 here, $10 there.
And that little $5 and $10, you tack on that interest every month that credit card doesn't get paid off. And it just be like you said, it ends up being 3 to 4 or 5 times more of what you paid for it.
If you spend $100 a day, which is really easy to do this day and age, that's $36,500 a year.
Yeah, people
at $100 a day.
It's really easy to go throughout your day and forget that 5 20s equals 100. Like, you know, you do this little stuff enough times and it becomes a big, and it's just, oh, I'll just put it on here. It's only this much. It's only this much. It's only this much. But then you get very habitual about that. And then you're in a bad spot quickly. And I understand, I understand why that's happening, because, you know, I'm reading so much stuff about people who don't right now have any other choice, but to fall back on their credit cards, you know, at the moment. And that's why earlier I was saying, when Brad was talking about credit card debt, that's a separate subject completely than trying to avoid giving all this money in credit card fees to the banks. You know, it's kind of changing your daily habit structure in paying for things versus debt reduction.
I think what we could do to wrap this one up, and then we can talk on another episode about the debts portion of it. But basically what happens is the people that are getting the rewards, those rewards are not being paid by the credit card company. Those rewards are being paid by the businesses and the users that carry balances. So they're the ones that are paying the way for the people that take advantage of the cards. You know, so you have some people that pay off their bills like every single month, and they just accrue all the points and they take advantage of it, and they're big proponents of it because it works for them because they're working the system. But you've got the lower income class and the lower middle class that are paying the brunt of those people using those fees. And that is one of the cons of a capitalist society, because that's how capitalism works. You know, someone has to win, someone has to lose. There's no really win-win situation in that scenario. And the only option that you have is to not play the game. Like, if you can't win, then don't play the game. And that's all I'm really.
That's a good point. And I'll close on that remark. No, that's all I got to say about that. But I'll close on that point too, because I actually just this month decided, like April 1st, that I am stopping playing the game. I'm not playing the credit card game. I'm moving away from it. Trying to get these things paid down. Mike said, doing cash, going that route, and because that way, you feel the pain of giving up that $5 bill that he showed earlier versus, using my watch and going, dink, I didn't feel it.
And so there's some other tactics we can actually talk.
Correct.
We'll probably talk about that on our Tech Talk Tuesday, because there's some technological options that you have where if you don't want to make the switch to credit card, you can still make yourself feel the pain.
Correct.
Using other systems, because there are a lot of places now that do not take credit cards. Cash. Sorry, they do not take cash, even though it's legal tender. They say contactless payment only.
Yep, and one of them is one of them that I noticed was theme parks.
Good.
Theme parks are moving that route. I mean, Busch Gardens in Tampa has already moved that route, so you cannot use cash.
I think most places will eventually move that direction. So it's something that we have to learn and adapt to the technology and build new ways to feel that pain into our daily habits. And that's something we could talk about on a future episode.
That's all we got to say about that, guys, for the day. So anyway, guys, don't forget, head over to thedailybm.com where you go check out all our socials over there. Don't forget, if you missed it, head over to thedailybm.com/Mike, and you can go and see his awesome OnlyFans toe video. So with that, Mikey, you got anything before we get out of here? It's hot. Mikey, you got anything?
Everybody have a great day, and remember to be mindful.
Shae, you got anything to say?
Everybody just have a wonderful day, and don't give up your money if you don't have to.
And if you want to, just sign it over to me. You can just send it over to info@thedailybm.com in care of Brad. So anyway, have a good one, guys, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Deuces.